My beautiful soul. There is a reason your heart slowed for a moment when you found this message. Not because of coincidence. Not because of habit. But because somewhere beneath your calm, beneath the part of you that has tried to move on, tried to stop wondering, tried to convince yourself that silence means nothing. You already felt it. Something has changed. Someone who once stood at a distance from you, someone who kept their emotions hidden behind hesitation, confusion, pride, timing, or fear, has reached a point where pretending no longer works for them. And what they decided about you, it was not small. It was not casual. It was not made in passing. No, this was a decision formed in the quiet moments, when no one was around, when distractions faded, when they had nothing left to do except sit with the truth they had been avoiding. Because the truth is, you have stayed in their mind far longer than they ever expected. Longer than they admitted. Longer than they wanted. Longer than they could explain. At first, they thought what they felt would fade. They thought maybe time would erase you. Maybe distance would weaken it. Maybe distractions would replace you. Maybe meeting other people would make your memory feel ordinary. But none of it worked. Because no matter where they went, some part of them kept returning to you. And that is what finally unsettled them. Not the feelings themselves, but the realization that after all this time, after all the resistance, after every attempt to deny what was building inside them, you were still the one person they could not emotionally release. Pause there for a moment. Do you understand how significant that is? People do not wrestle this hard with temporary feelings. They do not battle themselves over someone who means nothing. They do not lose sleep over a passing attraction. No. This became deeper than that. Much deeper. And recently, something happened. Maybe it was seeing your energy shift. Maybe it was sensing your distance. Maybe it was the fear that you were finally moving on. Maybe it was realizing that if they stayed silent any longer, they might lose the chance completely. But whatever triggered it, it shook them. Because for the first time, the possibility of losing you became more painful than the fear of being vulnerable. That was the turning point. That was the moment everything began changing inside them. Because before this, they believed they had more time. They believed you would somehow remain there, emotionally available, spiritually connected, quietly waiting whether you admitted it or not. But now, they are no longer sure. And uncertainty has forced honesty out of them. They have started asking themselves questions they once avoided. What if this person is truly meant for me? What if I let fear ruin something rare? What if I stay silent too long and watch them belong to someone else? What if the connection I keep trying to dismiss is actually real? Those questions have not left them alone. They follow them into the night, into their routines, into their conversations, into the moments when everyone else thinks they are fine. Because when someone reaches the point of asking those questions, They are no longer casually thinking about you. They are confronting the possibility that you may be the one person they cannot afford to lose. And that realization has changed the way they see everything. Even their past. Especially their past. Because suddenly they understand why other connections never fully satisfied them. Why previous relationships lacked depth. Why no matter who entered their life, something always felt incomplete. Because part of them was unknowingly comparing everyone to a connection they never properly explored with you. And once that awareness hit them, there was no going back. Now listen carefully. The decision they made was not impulsive. It came after resistance, after denial, after internal arguments, after trying to talk themselves out of what they feel. But eventually, truth wins. It always does. And their truth is this. They do not want a future where they have to wonder what could have happened between you. They do not want to spend years pretending they were unaffected. They do not want to keep choosing comfort over courage while someone extraordinary slips through their hands. So they made a final decision. A real one. A serious one. They decided they can no longer keep loving you silently. They can no longer stay emotionally neutral while their heart moves in one direction. They can no longer watch from a distance pretending they are fine with whatever happens. No. They have chosen to stop running from this. But here is where it becomes even deeper. Making the decision internally was only the beginning. Because deciding they want you, and deciding to act on it, are two different battles. And right now, they are standing between those battles. They know what they feel. They know what they want. They know who keeps appearing in their heart no matter how much they resist. But now they must face the hardest part. The moment where inner truth becomes outward action. That is where they are. On the edge. Preparing. Thinking through every possibility. Rehearsing conversations in their mind. Imagining what they might say to you. Then changing it. Then imagining it again. Because this matters to them more than they are letting on. Far more. They are not casually considering reaching out. They are emotionally calculating a moment that could alter everything. And do you know why they are being so careful? Because when feelings are shallow, people act recklessly. But when feelings are deep, people become terrified of ruining what matters. That fear you sense from them, it is not indifference. It is the pressure of someone who knows their next move could change the entire connection forever. They are aware that one conversation, one confession, one vulnerable moment could shift your relationship into something neither of you can take back. And strangely enough, that is exactly what they want. Even if it scares them. Especially because it scares them. Because what frightens people most is often what matters most. And you matter to them in ways they never expected. There are things they have never told you. Moments you affected them without realizing. Words you spoke that stayed with them for days. Ways your energy comforted them during difficult seasons. Ways your presence challenged them. Ways your absence exposed feelings they were trying not to name. You were never just someone to them. Never. Even in the moments they acted distant. Even when they pulled away. Even when they seemed confusing, inconsistent, unreadable. There was more happening beneath the surface than you knew. Because some people do not withdraw when they feel nothing. They withdraw when they feel too much. And they felt too much. Too fast. Too unexpectedly. Too deeply. You entered their life and disrupted emotional patterns they had spent years controlling. You made them feel seen in ways they were not prepared for. Understood in ways they did not know they needed. Drawn in by something they could not logically explain. And instead of immediately embracing it, they hesitated. Because real connection can be overwhelming when someone has spent their life protecting their heart. But now they understand something they did not understand before. Running from genuine connection does not protect the heart. It only delays the inevitable truth. And their truth keeps leading back to you. Again. And again. And again. Which is why this final decision matters so much. Because it means they are no longer trying to escape what they feel. They are trying to become brave enough to honor it. Let that sink in. This is no longer about whether they have feelings. That question has already been answered. This is now about when they will gather enough courage to reveal what they have chosen in their heart. And when that moment comes, it may happen differently than you expect. Not with some dramatic grand gesture. Not with perfect timing. Not with polished words. It may happen awkwardly. Unexpectedly. Emotionally. In a moment where they can no longer contain what has been building. Because when people suppress truth long enough, eventually it escapes. And theirs is close to escaping. Closer than you think. You may already be noticing signs. Their attention feeling different. Their energy shifting. Their silence carrying weight instead of emptiness. Their actions becoming more intentional. Their curiosity about you deepening. That is not random. That is someone trying to move closer before they fully reveal why. They are testing emotional waters. Watching. Observing. Trying to understand if your heart still has room for them before they risk exposing their own. Because despite all this courage building inside them, they still fear one thing. Rejection. Not because their feelings are weak, but because they are strong. The deeper the emotion, the greater the vulnerability. And what they feel for you has become vulnerable now. Real now. Impossible to dismiss now. Which means their confession, when it comes, will not be casual. It will carry weight. It will carry truth. It will carry all the emotion they have been suppressing. But before that moment happens, there is something else you need to know. This decision they made about you, it did not stop at feelings. It went further. Because once they accepted what their heart wanted, they began imagining a future. Yes, a real future. They have thought about what life would feel like with you beside them. They have pictured ordinary moments made extraordinary simply because you are in them. They have imagined conversations, routines, laughter, peace. A version of life where they stop fighting what they feel and finally allow themselves to love fully. And that vision has become difficult for them to ignore. Because once someone starts picturing a future with you, the heart becomes even more invested, even more certain, even more afraid. Which is why the intensity around this connection is rising. Not fading. Rising. Every day they remain silent after making this decision, the pressure builds. Every day they keep these emotions hidden, the urge to speak grows stronger. Every day they imagine losing the opportunity, regret pushes harder. And eventually, pressure creates movement. Always. But here is the part most people do not realize. When someone is this emotionally invested before speaking, their confession is rarely small. Because they are not just preparing to admit attraction. They are preparing to reveal everything they have hidden. How long they have felt it. How much they think about you. How deeply you affected them. How serious their intentions truly are. And when that truth comes out, you may realize their feelings were far more intense than you ever guessed. Because what they have kept buried has grown in silence. And silence often deepens emotion more than expression does. Especially when love is restrained. Especially when longing is unspoken. Especially when someone spends night after night imagining what they wish they had the courage to say. That is where they have been. Quietly building toward a moment neither of you will forget. But not yet. Not quite yet. Because there is still one final emotional wall they are trying to break through. One final fear they have not fully conquered. One final uncertainty that continues to delay the moment they reveal everything. And until that wall falls, they will remain just close enough for you to feel something shifting. Yet just silent enough to keep you wondering. But trust this. That silence no longer means indecision. It means preparation. Because when someone has made a final decision in their heart, the outer world usually changes shortly after. And what they are preparing to do next may explain why their energy around you has begun feeling different in ways even they can no longer hide.